Hello and good day. Continuing on with our study about independent contractors and employees, I'd like to share a case study with you. So this will require us sort of working together in this video, and this will be very similar to a case study that you will have on the final. So what we're looking at is a group of attorneys that are trying to decide whether or not trying to decide what the status is of some folks that they're hiring to clean their office. So we've got two case studies here. The law offices of Smith & Smith are in need of a cleaning service. They advertise in the paper and are contacted by the Dynamo Duo. So we're going to kind of go through these 9 items. And then the goal is to just set up a chart and say for each of them, does that lead me to think that the folks in case are an independent contractor, or does that lead me to believe that that attribute indicates that the person's an employee? So I'll just read the first couple and then we'll identify this. So the Dynamo Duo consists of 2 individuals. And number 2, they accept the job for $12 an hour and report their hours individually at the end of each month on a Dynamo Duo invoice. So if I go down here, I'm going to say one of the things, actually, let me go ahead and move this so that we can look at that. One of the things that makes me think they might be independent is it's two people. And secondly, they took the job at a $12 per hour. So that's more indicative of an employee. And then the invoice thing is kind of confusing because they report their hours on an invoice, not on a time card. So that's indicative of which area. I think that's more on the IC side. So then it states that in number 3, a contract is signed stating the wage rate, that the offices must be cleaned each night, and that 2 weeks notice must be given to quit. And then the contract also says that they're independent contractors. So clearly the fact that they've just even signed a contract puts us over in this column, right? But one of the things that's also confusing here is they're very clear on when the offices must be cleaned. So remember behavioral control from the lecture that you just listened to on section 1, behavioral control, when to do the job, how to do the job, what tools or processes to use to do the job. That's all indicative of an employee, as well as this 2 weeks notice. So again, a little confusing. I'm put that over here. Behavioral control of when. Number 4, Smith & Smith will furnish the cleaning supplies, and the Dynamo Duo will furnish the vacuum and other specialized equipment. So again, this is a little conflicting. The fact that I've got to bring my own vacuum, that's an investment. You know, like an industrial vacuum is pretty expensive. So I've got to make an investment in my own equipment to get this gig, right? And then it's more employee-like because they provide the supplies, right? You know, the shampoo for the, and the, you know, all the cleaning supplies. But I've got the big investment in the vacuum. Number 5, the windows need washing. So Mr. Smith asked the individuals to put in a couple extra hours on Wednesday and wash them. The carpets need shampooing, and that will need to be done next month. So I'd like you to think about that for a couple seconds and then identify what you think that's indicative of, and then jot it down. And you can turn off the tape, think about this for a sec. So the next 5 I'm going to have you do, and go ahead and fill out the matrix. So I think in number 5, the fact that they're giving them additional work is very much employee-ish. With independent contractors, if you give me extra work, then I've got a bid on it, right? Because that wasn't included in my original bid. Number 6, go ahead. If one of the dynamo duo is ill, then their friend takes over the job and reports the number of hours worked to the firm, and the firm pays her at the same hourly rate as the dynamo duo. So which side do you think that's on? And stop the tape, think about it. So this is kind of a weird situation because normally subcontracting the dynamo duo would pay the person that replaced them, but it's clearly not an employee. If I don't come to work, I don't get to call a friend and say, hey, Jen's going to show up for me today. Is that okay? You know, of course, that's more indicative of an independent contractor. The dynamo duo cleans a house for an older lady on a monthly basis. So think about that for a sec, what we learned about ICs and employees. So I think that's indicative of IC, that they have another client or clients. Number 8, no one supervises the dynamo duos. Attorneys have gone home by the time the individuals arrive to clean. So which side do you think that goes on? And then the dynamo duos are given 1099s at the end of the year. So is 1099 an IC thing or an employee thing? And clearly that's an IC is issued 1099 NEC. So take a second and look at the list and then make a conclusion and jot it down, stop the tape, and then I'll tell you what in fact they are. So the conclusion is, even though the list is actually longer for the attributes for the independent contractor, what's really important is the behavioral control. And we looked at that in section 1, behavioral control, financial control, and perceived relationship. They perceive that they're IC. I can see where that would be confusing because they signed a contract, they get 1099, they subcontract, but the real compelling indicator in independent contractor versus employee cases is behavioral control. And clearly that Smith & Smith have that. So go ahead and practice. Do the next one, just set up your matrix the same. So you're going to have something very similar to this on the test. You'll set up a little, column for IC and column for employee, and you'll identify things in the case study that lead you to believe one or the other. And then you will make a call. But most of the points is actually in the analysis, not in the final call. So go ahead, shut off the tape, and do this one on your own, coming up with little phrases that you think you could put based on this fact set. And then I will give you, when you turn it back on, you can take a look at what I thought. So number one, they advertise in the paper. That's definitely indicates IC. The second one, he lists on his application that he cleans for 2 other business establishments during the day. So he's got to clean at night, and he's got some references. So he's also got other clients. But what do we see here? He's establishing the when. He wants to be assured of a job for a year, so he writes the contract for $12 an hour, stating he's independent. So again, we have this hourly issue. That's usually indicative of an employee. Mostly contractors will bid on jobs rather than by the hour, so that goes in this column. But they sign a contract. The company will furnish the supplies, but Mr. Clean will bring his own industrial strength equipment. So same thing here. Now, in the last one, we had this as well, and yet he was still found to be an employee. I'd like you to just think for a second about other kinds of jobs. So investment in equipment does lend towards IC, but if you could think about like other kinds of jobs where folks actually have to make an investment in equipment to do their work as an employee. Do you have any ideas that you can think of? So I think mechanics usually have to have a pretty serious investment in their tools. And anybody that needs a car to do their job, that's a pretty big investment too. So although it leans you towards this side, it's not the end all be all. Number 5, the firm mentions they will need the carpet shampooed. Mr. Clean states he can't do that under his present hourly wage, as that was for routine, easy work. So again, he establishes or bids on additional work, I guess I should say. He gets a 1099 at the end of the year. When he's at a cleaning supplies convention, his brother cleans the office and Mr. Clean pays him. So again, that's a true example of subcontracting. And nobody supervises him when he's gone. And again, this goes on the side, but it's not that strong of a case because the attorneys are not going to be sitting there at night supervising someone that's cleaning their building. So even though it goes on the IC side, it's not really that strong. So what's really strong, again, are the behavioral control elements. And I just want to make sure, so that final conclusion here is he's IC. And again, up on the first one, although we had a lot of the same things over here, what was really compelling up here was who had the behavioral control. So I hope that this helps. And if you have any questions about this case study, make sure to just email me on it directly. Thank you very much. Bye.